River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Niner Nuts. I'm Dan, Indiana Dan, it should say, here along with Easy E. No James today. Eric, how we doing?
Surviving in the world, Dan. Surviving in the world.
Oh, are we all? If we happen to be a wonderful distraction for the hour or so we take of your Tuesdays and Fridays, let us know. We'd really appreciate it. Because I sure appreciate getting to talk football instead of what else is going on in the world. I'm having far more fun with this.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially today, as we do on every Friday episode until the summer, we have a parlay going on. We actually need. I wonder if there's going to be a Pro Bowl parlay. Like, if could you parlay the Pro Bowl last year?
I don't know. I didn't even know when the Pro Bowl was last year because they did a terrible job of advertising it and marketing it last year. Like,
it's always in between the Super Bowl and the conference championship, though.
Yeah, but I didn't know like what channel it was on or what time it was on or anything like that. So like, I really tried to like watch it last year and I couldn't because I had no idea when it was on and what time or what channel or anything. Turns out like it was on ESPN at like 2 p.m. or some shit like that. And so I didn't get to see it. So
I think it's littered between ESPN 2 and NFL Network, like the three channels: ESPN, ESPN2, and then I think they're just kind of sprinkled in throughout the weekend. I don't know.
See, you still don't even know, and the Pro Bowl is literally a week and a half away.
None of them are primetime, though. I can tell you that the flag football game is not in primetime.
Yeah. See, I mean, like, I kind of want to watch that. Like, I think that's interesting. I think that it's actually 3:00 on Sunday, and I think it's on ESPN and ABC this year. So if it's on ABC, I'll get to watch it this year.
I watched the highlights. I definitely didn't watch it live, but
I mean, it sounds like it's at least an interesting concept. And I mean, the flag football is going to be an Olympic sport in 2028. Is that the next Summer Olympics? 2028?
Yeah,
we just had the basketball in 2024. So yeah, in 2028, flag football is going to be a Olympic sport, and there's already rumblings that NFL players are going to play in it, which I hope that they do, because we should send our best to go play in the Olympics, and we should just annihilate everybody in flag football like we did with the original Dream Team. So I think that would be massively awesome to like just put up, like 100 points versus like 7 on other people. I think that would be great.
Dude, it'd be Patrick Mahomes, George Kittle, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, and I don't know, Creed Humphrey, just to have a lineman there. Maybe a second tight end. I don't know how the team would work. But
we don't even need linemen. We just receivers and just put Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson out there. I mean, it doesn't even matter.
Let's get Saquon out there. Let's get maybe not Derek. I don't know, maybe Derek. I don't know.
He's deceptively fast.
True. No, just send the Dolphins. Just send all Dolphins players that are all like 4.2 fast.
Take all like the super fast guys from around the NFL. So Jamison Williams and all those guys, and just send them over there. Yeah.
No, here we go. Send Juwan. So Juwan just like arm tackles some people to the ground.
But yeah, so it'll be interesting development. I mean, assuming we're still podcasting 4 years from now or 3 years from now or whatever it is, we'll be able to talk about it. It'll be an interesting development. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the NFL players are already saying that they want to go and that they want to play. So it'll be interesting to see if the NFL lets them and sanctions them doing it, because right now it would be a prohibited activity under most of their contracts. So
yeah, no kidding. Anyway, since I mentioned parlay, the old bet.
Yeah!
The old bet still. There we go. I don't know how well you can read that.
Yeah, the The Buckeye logo lives on for
It
another 8 to 9. Well, it's going to live on until they're no longer national champions. So it's going to live on for another 12 months in the back of your background.
I said at least. Well, no, we didn't make a contingency for if they won. Can we roll back that tape?
It's going to live forever.
I'll leave it up. I'll leave it up for a little bit. They did win it all, and congratulations. We were taping when they did win, so yeah. I'll give them their roses. They did win the national championship, and I don't care what the haters say. I love this 12-team format. Everybody was bitching up a storm, like, oh, there weren't any upsets in the first round. Well, look what happened in the second round, and then everyone's like, oh, well, Ohio State still didn't beat Michigan. Dude, just God, cry me a river. Like, I love this format. I think it's good for college football.
I mean, it ultimately is. There's enough teams in college football that it makes sense to have that extended format and have more teams in that regard. Just having the 4 teams before was just so limiting, and it was so arbitrary, who they were picking, and you could already tell 2 weeks into the season who was going to be 2 of the teams anyways. It was going to be 2 SEC teams all the time. It was going to be Alabama and either Georgia or LSU every time. 2 other teams just fighting for the remaining 2 spots. So, I mean, it wasn't really very enjoyable. And this lends itself to a lot more teams having a chance to play, a lot more teams getting into the mix. It's eventually going to lead to more upsets. I mean, Ohio State was like a number 10 seed. So, I mean,
yep. No,
I mean, while it's the big name of Ohio State football. I mean, it's a pretty big upset when you math it out, when you have a 10 seed win the national championship. So, I mean, something to be said there.
Yeah, they did finally beat Oregon the second time around, and then Notre Dame was not a pushover. Like, yeah. Notre Dame nearly staged a comeback. But yeah, no, just had to point that out before. Plus, we only got 2 games to cover, so we do have a lot to cover though between the 7 legs we have in each of these games. And the first one, we're just going in game time order. Sunday at 3:00, the Commanders are in Philadelphia. This is the Tom Brady and Kevin. No, not Kevin. What's his?
Yeah, Kevin Burkhardt.
I get Kevin Burkhardt and the guy with Al Michaels mixed up every time.
Al Michaels doesn't do football anymore. Oh no. Just blanked. He's the Ohio State guy.
Yeah. It's not Kevin Burkhardt.
No.
You figure it out. But no, I get the
Kirk
guy
Herbstreit.
I get Kirk Herbstreit. I get him and Kevin mixed up. But yeah. It's Tom and Kevin.
Yeah, I just washed Al Michaels away because he's on Amazon Prime. I was like, he doesn't do football anymore.
He actually got a handful of really good games this year. Like, he actually got a reason to be happy he signed with Amazon and left NBC this year, unlike last year.
Yeah.
Last year, Mad Al Michaels was so funny. But anyway, we got all of our picks here. I'm circling them for our YouTubers, and I got our warning there too. Or disclaimer.
Hey, all right, the disclaimer's up.
Yeah, or disclaimer, not warning. Anyway,
all the same.
I'll just rattle through these, and we can talk about the game and the pieces as a whole.
Yeah,
we got our Saquon anytime touchdown scorer because, of course, he's going to score again. This is pretty obvious. Jane Daniels 2 passing touchdowns. Hard to imagine he's not going to do this again. It's hard to just the game is going to demand from him. So I think we all agree this is going to be a safe pick with him throwing 2 touchdowns. Jalen, 1 passing touchdown at least. Notice we don't have him with any time, and your rationale for that was why I was on board with it because I didn't think about his injury. But then Scary Terry, at least 50 receiving yards. That's pretty safe. I personally think he's going to hit 100, but 50 for the sake of the bet. Saquon, 125 total yards. Jaden, 40 rushing yards. That has been a very safe pick lately. How often he just tucks and runs. And then 1 interception by Jaden Daniels. Personally, I think this is definitely going to happen because that Philadelphia secondary is very, very scary. And unfortunately, James isn't here to hype up the Eagles, but I'll do it. I'll do it for him. That whole defense, top to bottom, is really, really good. And I would be shocked if Jaden didn't throw at least 1 pick. But yeah, what do you think about this game? I've been yapping.
No, it's fine. I mean, so we kind of went with Barkley as the anytime touchdown scorer to replace Hurts as the anytime touchdown scorer because he is hurt. And if you looked at the last quarter of the previous game, they specifically didn't do the tush push in at least one situation. There might have been two. And so, if he's that hurt that they're not going to use that maneuver, then that takes away a lot of his opportunities to actually score, when they're down the 1 yard line or the 2 yard line or whatever it is, and vulture touchdowns away from Barkley. So I think Barkley's opportunities to score touchdowns goes up a lot higher here. Jane Daniels, 2 passing touchdowns. This one concerns me just a little bit in the sense that if this game is really dominated by the Eagles and dominated by the Eagles defense, I could see where he somehow doesn't hit this. I suggested this as a bet because I don't really think that the Eagles are going to truly dominate this game. I think that it's going to be a little bit more of a back and forth than certainly James is going to enjoy.
I'm going to agree with you. Whenever divisional teams meet in the playoffs, it typically is kind of a bloodbath, and no one really has the advantage over the other one. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah. So I know that the Eagles defense is just really good, but the Redskins. Whoops. How about that, folks? The Commanders have put up a lot of points all season long, and have continued to put up points, throughout the playoffs and everything like that. And I know in the one game that they played against the Eagles, they scored a bunch of points. I'm trying to look to see what they did. So they scored 18 points against the Eagles one game, and then they scored 36 points against them in the other game. So, that's pretty decent in both games. So I just don't see the Eagles slowing them down to the point where they're going to keep Daniels and that offense in check well enough to prevent them from scoring twice through the air. And they're going to have to throw the ball to keep up. So Hurts with the 1 passing touchdown. If he's not running the ball, he's going to have to throw it. So we've been riding the Hurts with the 1 passing touchdown all season long. So stuck with that. I agree with you on Scary Terry. I think, again, the Eagles defense is really good. I think those corners are going to probably keep him in check a little bit more than usual. But Daniels isn't afraid to feed him the ball. So he's definitely going to get opportunities. He might just have to break one off to get the massive amounts of yards that you're kind of thinking about. But I think just through, the constant feeding of the ball, he's going to get to 50 pretty easily.
They don't have a Pat Surtain. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
I remember when they played Denver, Pat Surtain literally shut him down. I remember looking at the box for whatever reason. I was looking at the box score, and I noticed Terry McLaurin literally was 1 for 7 for 5 yards. And I was like, Jesus Christ! Pat Surtain made a stance for Defensive Player of the Year in that game.
Yeah. So Barkley hitting the 125 rushing and receiving. He just went for 200 yards rushing last game. Again, with Hurts being injured, I don't think they're going to be calling as many designed runs for Hurts. I think they're going to be feeding the ball to Barkley. They're going to want to try to keep that Commanders offense off the field as well by controlling the ball. So, feeding your best player, I think that seems to stand to reason that he's going to probably easily eclipse that mark. And again, I think it's going to be a rather back and forth sort of high scoring game. So lots of opportunities for him to collect yards. Jaden Daniels, 40 yards rushing. He just scrambles around a bunch and just makes plays happen with his feet. That's just pretty standard there. That's pretty much a given bet as well. And then the interception being thrown. I was a little concerned about that just because he had the highest completion percentage for a rookie quarterback all season long. He was at 69%. So, he didn't throw a ton of picks all season long. I'm going to look it up real quick off the top of my head. He threw
double-digit interceptions.
He threw
I know he threw at least one.
9. He threw 9 picks all season long.
I think one of them, if not two of them, were against the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's see. There are 2 picks versus the Eagles in that game, and 1 pick versus the Eagles in that game. So he threw 3 of the 9 against the Eagles. So James's intuition there is pretty solid. A third of the picks that he threw this season were against that Eagles secondary. Actually, the vast majority of his picks were in the back half of the season. Now he hasn't thrown one in the playoffs yet. But
remember that secondary he was facing against the Lions were a bunch of that was a terrible secondary.
Yeah, but to my point, he threw 68% and then 71% in the 2 playoff games so far. So I mean, like, his percentage has been ridiculous. But I feel, looking at those stats now, seeing that he's threw on a third of his picks versus the Eagles, seems like they know a little something about him. Seems like they're reading him pretty well. So that seems like a pretty logical pick as well. Who's going to win this game? Boy.
I can go ahead and say I think the Eagles. Like, I know we all wrote off the Commanders last week, and it was just an embarrassment of just steamrolling the Lions. So the Commanders know how to do their homework, and they're not taking Philly any less seriously than they did against the Lions, especially being a division opponent and all that. But I think in the end, being at home and wanting to get Hurts and everybody to this second Super Bowl in 4 years, it's a wonderful little Cinderella momentum that the Commanders are riding, and they're playing with house money. They got nothing to lose, so they're going to throw it all out there. I hate that turn of phrase I was about to use, but like, had to make a pick for money line, I would pick the Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to end up pulling this out. Not by much. It may be a 3-point win, like a kicker. Is Dicker the kicker with them, or is he the
no?
Elliott.
Yeah, Elliott. Yeah.
I think it may be on an Elliott field goal, but I really do think the Eagles are going to squeak this one out, and I mean squeak this out. I don't see it being a blowout. A track meet maybe, but it's going to be decided by less than 7. I think.
I definitely don't think that it's going to be a blowout, and I mean, our picks reflect that. Boy, Commanders just seem to have some juice. It's really hard to pick against this Eagles team, though, because they're just so solid from top to bottom. I love a team with good defense and a good running back like that, because you can just control both sides of the ball so well.
I know you disagreed with me, but I still stand by, even with Hurts hurt, I still think the Eagles are the most complete team of these final 4.
Yeah, well, we're supposed to be an Eagles podcast in honor of James.
Yes.
And so I'll stick with that. I'll stick with the Eagles. I won't be surprised if the Commanders win, and I will stick to my guns on the fact that if you get into a shootout with the Commanders, you're going to come out on the wrong side of that. So, if we're sitting here on Monday when we tape and the Commanders won the game 44-38, I'm going to say I told you so. But I think if the Eagles can hold them under 30, they can win this game, and we'll see what happens.
How unreal it would be just to see the Commanders 2 years after firing Dan Snyder, asking him politely to leave.
Yeah.
Getting the second pick quarterback, Dan Quinn getting back to the Super Bowl, Cliff Kingsbury getting this, like, what a wild ride for this team. It's been a wild ride just to get here. Like,
yeah.
It's crazy.
The shine has to fall off at some point in time. So, I mean, is it going to fall off this week, or is it going to fall off in the Super Bowl, I guess, is the question that you have. Because, I mean, if the Commanders get to the Super Bowl, I don't think they can beat either the Bills or the Chiefs. So, I mean, I guess it's just a question of, do you think they're going to make one more game? And I'll stand by that as long as the Eagles hold them to 30 or under, that the Eagles win.
Oh, yeah.
If the Commanders score over 30, I don't think that the Eagles win this game.
It'll be tough.
And the over under is 47.5.
Okay, interesting. So it's a little lower.
So they're not expecting a real shootout.
No, pretty average score, but split that in half, 24-23. Like, that's interesting. Very interesting, Vegas.
Yep.
Let's move on to, got it right here, our primetime, technically not, but late game, let's call it. The Bills going to the Chiefs. Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. 4 in the playoffs, I should say. Really, this is Patrick versus Josh, like 9.
How many times did Manning and Brady meet each other in the playoffs? Like 6, something like that?
Oh, I don't think 6.
I'll look it up while you go.
I don't think 6, but no, it's kind of like that though. Like Tom Brady always won in the regular season, and most of the time Peyton won in the playoffs. Most of the time he did. I think he does squeak him out overall, but it was more like down the middle.
Oh, they met 5 times.
Okay.
So there you go.
Well, what is it, like 3-2 Manning?
Manning 3-2, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I knew it was. I knew he had it, but it was like more down the middle. But then don't look up regular season because it's Brady literally like 18-1.
11-5 versus Manning.
Okay, so he had more than 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very lopsided regular season. But yeah, no, it's literally night and day in terms of like those hardline stats for these guys. Patrick Mahomes has won every time, all 3 times in the playoffs, and Josh Allen, if I remember right, is 4-1 in the regular season. Only lost him once in the regular season. So if we're just following the numbers like that, doesn't look too good for Josh and the Bills. And just the way the Chiefs have been playing this year, yeah, they lost in the regular season, but that's setting up a revenge game, and it's at home, and Patrick is chasing a legacy, and I'm going to cheer my heart out for the Bills, but I want to see this massive upset happen, and it ends up being the Bills versus I don't care. I don't care who they're going to play as long as it's the Bills. I'm going to be happy for James if it's the Eagles, and I'm going to be thrilled to be seeing the Cinderella story if it's the Commanders. But focusing on this game, I just don't. I want to cheer my head off for the Bills, but I just don't. It's like we've said all year. Like what, after the first month, like, okay, cool. Kansas City's going to win the Super Bowl unless we see them lose.
Yeah.
It just sucks. Like for us, I'm preaching to the choir, but I don't know. I really hope we get an upset. I really, really hope we get an upset. What I didn't see what the money line was on this, or the line was, but
I was just looking it up while you were talking. It's 1.5 Chiefs. And the over is 48.5.
Okay. No, that sounds. I don't see this game being like a big shootout because it's going to. Well, I mean, they both know how to play in the cold, but I don't think. I mean, yeah, they've gotten kind of closer to a shootout like they did 2 years ago, but I don't know. I really, really. A part of me is just like preparing to just accept we're seeing the Chiefs in the 3rd Super Bowl because the football gods hate us, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of like what we have on this line here, you've seen on YouTube, but for the listeners. We got a Josh Allen anytime touchdown scorer. I think Josh really, really wants to rush one of his own touchdowns against Patrick. Kareem Hunt, just wouldn't be surprised that he ends up taking 1 touchdown because they want to run. They want to run. Patrick, yeah, can make magic happen, but they really like having a running back that's capable to take some of the pressure off him. Patrick, 225 passing yards. This is the one on our ticket that I was kind of like, I've seen Patrick bite me before with that, but I think in this instance, it's going to be safe. I think there is going to be a lot of passing in this. Same with Josh Allen, 225. Not worried about that at all. Josh Allen rushing, kind of like Jaden Daniels. He's going to have a handful of breakout runs. Like against this defensive line, like I could see them they'll definitely hit him. He's probably going to end the game with at least 4 sacks, but he's also going to get a handful of breakout runs. I can just see it just because it's him. And then James Cook, they're going to feed that mofo the ball. They're going to try to at least.
Yeah.
And then Travis Kelce, 5 catches. That's pretty much a given. They love to feed him the ball, regardless of the yards. They love to feed him the ball, or at least try to.
Yeah. I mean, on the first two, the Allen TD and the Hunt TD, I mean, the Bills are going to have to get crafty down around near the goal line, and Allen's their big guy, and they do the tush push as well. Anytime they get down there around the 1 or the 2 yard line and just line Allen up and push him in. So I think him scoring a touchdown is a pretty viable option there. Kareem Hunt's still
Plus
been
he's like 6'6".
Yeah. Kareem Hunt's still been the majority runner there in Kansas City, even though Pacheco came back. Pacheco's not really taken the reins back and hasn't really done a whole lot since he's come back. So Hunt's still getting the majority of the carries. And the Chiefs, when they get inside the 5, I mean, they don't pass the ball a ton. They still run the ball and try to run the ball into the end zone. So, I mean, Hunt gets a lot of carries. I would say goal-to-go carries. He gets those opportunities, and he's a good kind of smash runner to just sort of just barrel his way into the line and plow forward and get in there. So feel pretty good about him getting an opportunity to score there. I'm with you there on Mahomes getting to 225 and Allen getting to 225. Again, like in the last game, I don't think that this is going to be a defensive standoff. I just don't see that happening.
Defense need not apply.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a game where the quarterbacks are just going to kind of go back and forth on each other. I do think that the Chiefs defense is going to show up and show out at certain times and play well in certain situations. And again, we've talked about that, reoccurring throughout the season on this podcast is how the Chiefs play that great situational football. And I do think there are going to be a handful of situations in this game where the Chiefs defense makes a big play, like they made against us on that 3rd and 7 or whatever it was from the goal line, down in the Super Bowl when we played them. They just excel at those situational opportunities, and I think that that's going to happen in this game as well. Josh Allen with the 40 rushing yards. Much like Jaden Daniels, I think he's going to end up having to scramble around a lot because the Chiefs do get after the quarterback and make things happen. And plus just him scrambling and running the ball is just an extension of what the Bills do. And they're going to be trying to pull out everything and anything that they can do to try to, keep the Chiefs off the field and keep drives going. So I think it's going to be a pretty natural extension for him to drop back. And if he doesn't see something happening on his first or second and maybe even third read, he's just going to take off. And then James Cook with the 50-plus rushing yards. Again, to your point, Dan, they're going to hand him the ball a lot to try to keep Mahomes off the field. I mean, that's just a given, which, again, I think leans again into the Josh Allen rushing yards as well. It's just another option for them to try to keep Mahomes off the field. Travis Kelce, 5 receptions. That should be gold. That should be money. He's Mahomes' guy in the playoffs. He's the guy who gets open. He's the guy that makes everything happen. I don't even think in the last game, I don't even think a receiver had a catch. I'm not mistaken. Wasn't there some ridiculous stat where like a receiver didn't even have a catch in the last game with the Chiefs played? I'm gonna look.
I was gonna say I'm gonna check that now because that's impressive given that they have freaking DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, let me see.
Well,
let's see receiving. Oh, yeah, I guess Worthy did. So Kelce had 7 catches, Worthy had 5 catches, and then Noah Gray had 3. Hunt had 1, and then nobody else had any catches. They had targets, but they didn't have any catches. So
D-Hop without a catch, that's surprising.
And only 1 target. So I mean, like Kelce had 8 targets, Worthy had 6 targets, Gray had 3 targets, Hunt had 1 target. I mean, the rest of the guys had 1 target, 2 targets, 1 target. So I mean, clearly Mahomes is feeding Kelce the ball, and he's going to do that again in this game too. So 5 receptions for Kelce. I see that pretty easy. Not a big deal there.
Credit to Nico Ryans for figuring out a way to get the secondary to at least shut down the wide receivers.
Yeah. As for who wins this game, the easy answer is the Chiefs. I've said it all season long that until somebody beats the Chiefs are the team, and the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. And I'm not going to change that stance now. I'm not going to change that prediction now. Do I think that the Bills can win this game? Absolutely. Absolutely, the Bills can win this game. By no stretch of imagination is this just an easy walk-away win for the Chiefs. I mean, the Texans gave them a little bit of a game last week, but we all knew that the Chiefs were going to win that game. Do we all know that the Chiefs are going to win this game? No. This game is much more difficult, much more harder to predict. But until somebody beats those Kansas City Chiefs, those Kansas City Chiefs are going to walk all the way to the Super Bowl, and then they're going to get to the Super Bowl, and then they're going to beat whoever it is that's in the Super Bowl. And that's kind of one of the reasons that I think that the Commanders might win that Eagles game, is because it just sort of sets up that opportunity for the Chiefs to play the Commanders in the Super Bowl and just sort of wipe the Commanders off the face of the earth in the Super Bowl and get their third Super Bowl in a row, and, la-di-da-di-da, because the Commanders have no shot against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Oh no, if it ends up being Commanders Chiefs, no, that's going to literally be like a 10.5 point spread, if not more. That'll be so. But then again, if we did get that game, not going to lie, I could subscribe to the theory that, like, well, Commanders got this far, they beat the Eagles, they beat the Lions, like
Jaden Daniels is not beating Steve Spagnuolo with 2 weeks worth of preparation. He's just not. So no rookie's gonna pull that off, unfortunately. So that's sort of why I feel like the Commanders might win that game, is just because the football gods are going to be like, oh, here you go, Chiefs. Bloop. Real easy opponent for you in the Super Bowl. There you go. No problems here. Whereas if they play the Eagles, I mean, the Eagles are a really good team. I mean, that's not going to be an easy walk-away win for the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs will be favored by probably
if they play the Eagles, I bet it would be 3. I bet it would be 3.5 or 4.5.
Yeah, I was going to say 3. So I would say probably 3. Would depend on how bad they beat the Bills, I suppose. But just not knowing anything other than that, I mean, I would say they would be favored by 3 on the Eagles. But don't be surprised if it's a odd Chiefs Commanders Super Bowl where the Chiefs can just walk in and do one of those old early, or really all through the 90s, kind of Super Bowls that are just boring and no fun to watch because one team just kicks the tar out of the other team the entire time, and you're just like, oh wow, that was such an enjoyable Super Bowl to watch where one team won 48-10. Wow.
Luckily I have not had I'm trying to think the Super Bowls that I consciously remember. I think I only had that with Super Bowl 48 when the Seahawks kicked the crap out of the Broncos.
Yeah.
And I don't remember that game super vividly because I was definitely in party mode by halftime. And watching the highlights after the fact, I didn't miss anything. It was terrible.
Yeah.
I'd rather have that, though, because at least there's some more fun highlights than say, like, Super Bowl 53, where the score was literally 13-3.
Yes. Well, we had, this would be Super Bowl 50. Tampa Bay beat Kansas City 31-9.
Oh, that's true. I forgot that was a blowout, too. But I was happy. I don't know. That was a weird Super Bowl. I was mad. I was not happy either way. Tom Brady getting a 7th ring, but Patrick lost. So
I was so happy for Brady in that Super Bowl. That was just the best. That was so much fun to watch. I mean, that was just because that was when Brady was in just pure villain mode. It was so great. I wanted him to get 3 rings that night somehow. It was so great. So
that was the NFC Championship. My old friend was a Packers fan, and he was part of the we need to put Desmond King's head on a spike because he had a terrible game against I think he was trying to cover Mike Evans, and he was just getting smoked by him the whole game.
Yeah. So, but I mean, my favorite Super Bowl outside of any 49ers Super Bowl is still the New England Atlanta Super Bowl where the Patriots came back from being down, whatever it was, 28-3 or whatever that ridiculous score was, and they came back and won. That was the most remarkable Super Bowl I've ever watched live. I mean, I haven't seen anything again outside of a Niners Super Bowl. That was the most remarkable football. This is the most remarkable football game I've ever watched in my entire life. To watch Brady engineer that comeback and everything that had to happen for them to come back and win that game, I was just absolutely dumbfounded when he did that. So
I like growing up here being indoctrinated into not liking Tom Brady, but I can appreciate from a historical standpoint that how special that was to be a witness to that because that was really insane.
Oh yeah.
But the Super Bowl after it, though, is actually my favorite Super Bowl. Like, not to kiss James's ass, but like, you want to talk about a fun ass track meet of a Super Bowl? That was awesome. And Nick Foles, it was a backup, and he went up against Tom Brady. And Tom Brady had, I think, the best QBR, or maybe not QBR, but like just like stat line for a quarterback ever, and he lost.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
Super Bowl 53, Super Bowl or 53, no, 40,
52.
40, 52. Super Bowl 52 was awesome. Like from just an objective football fan standpoint, that's my personal favorite one.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but we'll see what happens. I think Kansas City wins. I think they beat the Bills. I think it's a very close game. I think out of either of the two games this weekend, I think the more exciting, no offense, James, I think the more exciting game will end up being the Bills-Chiefs game because I think it'll just be closer and a lot more tightly contested. I think that the Eagles-Commanders game might end up being more fun per se to watch, just because I think there'll be a lot more action and scoring. But I don't know that it's going to end up being as close and competitive. I think that it's going to be a back and forth shootout, but I think the Eagles are probably going to get out to a bit of a lead, and then the Commanders are kind of keep like inching their way back, and then the Eagles will score, and then they come back, and then they'll score. You know what I mean? So there's always going to be like this, there's going to be like this maybe like 10 or 13 point buffer that the Commanders just like can't overcome. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, okay, the Commanders have scored. They made it a 10-point game again. And then Barkley will break off a 60-yard run. And then the Commanders will come back and it's a 10-point game again. Yeah. And then the Eagles score another field goal. And then the Commanders score again. And then the Eagles score another touchdown. And I think it's just going to kind of go that way where they sort of just lead them along and they score a lot of points that way.
Just always a little out of arms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
I could feel that happening. I think the Eagles are going to win too. And then I guess if I was making the money line, I don't know. I got a lot of ick making a money line this week. Probably because
I would never make a money line bet this week at all.
Well, it's only 2 games, and then my personal tickets were garbage last week. I didn't hit.
Mine were too.
I didn't hit jack anything last week. I was mad.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm anticipating in my heart we're having another rematch of another, like the same 2 years in a row again. like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Like how weird going to, or no, wait, No, they weren't back-to-back years. The Eagles Chiefs and the Niners Chiefs weren't back-to-back. Never mind.
No.
But no, another Chiefs rematch. Like, I don't know. I'm fully expecting that to be the Super Bowl as much as I want it to just be just the Bills. Again, I'm happy if either NFC team makes it. I want the Bills to be in it, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want the Chiefs to win. I don't want the Chiefs there. I don't want them to have another opportunity. I don't want to hear about how Patrick Mahomes has three-peated and is the first quarterback to ever three-peat a Super Bowl, and how he's now supplanted everybody as the greatest quarterback of all time, and blah, 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 blah. Like, and then we'll have every commercial on TV will be Patrick Mahomes because there's enough of them now, but there'll be even more. And I just don't want any of that. So, I mean, I would love for them to lose. But again, until somebody beats them, I think they're going to win the whole thing. So.
Is this what it was like for Bulls fans? When or is this what it was like for the rest of the NBA when MJ was running it and he won 6 of 7 championships in the 90s?
Yeah, kind of.
Because this isn't quite.
Yeah, it was kind of like this. I mean,
this isn't.
You got to the playoffs, and then Jordan was like, "No, none for you."
It's like, I don't know. I guess it's recency bias that, like, I don't know. It's not quite the same, but it's kind of like adjacent to what it was like seeing Brady win all the time. But this is more like back half Brady, where like the front half Brady, yeah, like he won those 3 up front, but then he went in a 10-year drought of, well, only making 2 Super Bowls and losing 2. And in the 10-year span, we didn't get to see him hoist a trophy. But then it was what Patrick Mahomes is doing now, where he just went on that back half tear.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah,
the AFC is
very similar. Yeah.
The AFC has literally been owned by one quarterback for 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, everything went through. Well, there was some weird stat that was like, the Super Bowl has been played by either like Mahomes, Brady, Manning, or I think like Roethlisberger. There was some like random quarterback that they threw in there. It's been like the quarterback of the Super Bowl for like the last like 25 Super Bowls from the AFC side. So,
well, just look at the AFC in general in the last since 2010. That was the thing I saw. Since 2010 was the last time it wasn't Brady or Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship game, and that was Mark Sanchez versus Ben Roethlisberger. Ever since that one, it was like 10 Brady in a row, including one overlap of Brady versus Mahomes. And then it's just been Mahomes since. Yeah. And this is the seventh time? Seventh? Is that right? Or is it the 8th? I don't remember anymore.
For what?
For Mahomes. Is this his 7th AFC Championship in a row?
Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah. Like if you go all the way back to
because it was literally 10 in a row for Brady, 11 to 20.
Yeah. If you go all the way back to 2004, so literally 20 years, it was New England, Pittsburgh, Indy, New England, Pittsburgh, Indy, Pittsburgh, New England. Then we throw in a random Baltimore, so you got to throw Flacco in the mix there. But then you got Denver, which would have been Manning.
Yep.
New England, Denver, New England, KC. Then you've got a Burrow in here, and then KC. But I mean, like outside of Burrow and Flacco being randomly scattered in there, it was literally Brady, Manning, Roethlisberger, and Mahomes have been the quarterback in the Super Bowl for the last 20 years from the AFC. I mean, it's absurd.
It is. It's like, and people saying that the NFC is the superior conference. Like, you look at the consistency you get in the AFC. Like, sure, you can make the argument that the talent's garbage, but like, okay, well, look at the talent that they're going against. Like, clearly there was something special with all of them: Manning, Roethlisberger, Brady, now Mahomes. It's this is just making me sad now. Can we? I don't want to talk about our president, but I was going to make a bad joke. But
and we lose 50 of our listeners. But if you look, and we kind of talked about this during the season too. If you looked at the two conferences, the AFC was very top heavy, right? There was like 4 or whatever it was, like maybe 5 teams in the top of the AFC that all were like, okay, these are real Super Bowl contenders. It was the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bills, a couple others, right? There were like the real Super Bowl contenders. And then everybody else in the AFC was like just crap. I mean, it was like there were a bunch of teams that were like 10-6 that were like kind of filtered into the playoffs. And then everybody else below them is like 6-10 or less. I mean, like, it's just utter trash. I mean, it's horrible. I'll bring it up real quick. I mean, you have let me do the playoffs because it'll be easier for me. Oh no, I clicked on an ad. Spam.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Mute your mic.
Right. Yeah. You're looking at porn.
Copyright strike.
Yeah. So you had like you got down to like the Bengals, and then everybody was like 8-9, and then 5-12, 4-13, 4-13, 4-13, 3-14, 3-14. I mean, it's just trash. It's just absolute trash. And even the teams that were 8-9, the Colts and the Dolphins, they weren't any good. I mean, nobody would have said those were good teams throughout the season. They just were the the good average team. They just beat up on everybody else that was 5-12, 4-13, and stuff like that. Whereas when you went over to the NFC, you had a bunch of teams. You could go all the way down to the 9th seed. You had 8-9 at the Falcons, 8-9 at the Cardinals, 7-10 Cowboys, 6-10 Niners. Then you get down to like the crap with the Bears with like 5-12, 5-12, 5-12. But I mean, still 5-12 is a lot better than 3-14.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so I mean, the worst team in the NFC was 3-14 as the Giants, but then you go up to 5-12, 5-12, 5-12. I mean, so the NFC was probably the overall stronger conference from top to bottom, but the AFC was very top heavy with exceptional talent. I mean, they have, oh gosh.
Yeah. Well, look, last week, the final four of the conference were not remotely surprising.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, like,
albeit the Texans were kind of hurt, but
yeah. But I mean, like, if you look at the quarterbacks, I mean, like the Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, and then I'll just throw the Bengals in there, even though they didn't make the playoffs. But I mean, those are four of the top teams in the AFC. Those are four of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas when you go to the NFC, if I look at the top teams there, you have the Lions. No one's going to, I mean, like, Goff is fine, but no one's going to say he's one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. You have Hurts for the Eagles. Sorry, James. Hurts is good, but he's not one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. He doesn't put up great numbers compared to those other guys. Then you've got Baker, who is pretty good, but he's not great.
What was it that you said before? The Hall of Okay, or
the Hall of Pretty Good?
Yeah, the Hall of Pretty Good. That's it.
Yeah. You got Baker, who's pretty good. You got Stafford, who was great at one point in time, but now I would argue with you it belongs in the Hall of Pretty Good.
Yeah,
you've got
he's still got. I would like to see him play one more year.
Yeah, I would too. You've got Darnold, who no one's going to confuse for being great. You've got Jaden Daniels, who might be great, but we don't know. You've got Jordan Love. Now I'm down to Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, who I'm not going to say is great, but he's pretty darn good. But I mean, like, the overall talent at the quarterback position lives in the AFC. So, I don't, what to say about that.
It makes you, it just proves what's the most important position, quarterback, who's going to get paid the most, the quarterback, whether they're good or not. It's just, they're going to get paid because it's that potential, that ceiling, the expectation. And then that's why those contracts are not all fully guaranteed. Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. But I mean, it just goes to show you that top level talent there in the AFC is going to just keep rotating back and rotating through. And I think, for the next decade, maybe next 15 years, we're going to just see a rotation of Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, probably at some point in time, and Burrow just sort of cycling through and being that AFC representative in the Super Bowl. We'll sprinkle in somebody else every now and then who's going to just bubble up and be a surprise. Maybe a CJ Stroud appears in there every now and then, or maybe a Justin Herbert finally breaks through and squeaks in or something like that. But, they're going to just be represented by those same four guys for the next 10, 15 years. We'll be sitting here in 2040 having the podcast and talking about how Patrick Mahomes is going for his 10th Super Bowl.
Yeah, sadly, probably.
Ugh, that'll make me want to throw up all over myself.
Probably. At this rate, like, we'll see. I'm going to be sitting on the edge of my seat, probably cheering my head off for the Bills.
Yeah.
So, I guess we'll just have to see. I think with that, though, honestly, I think we have some good anticipation built up. We got through our parlay. I think let's go ahead and give a shout out to our sponsor, RoyalRetros.com. What is Royal Retros is your go-to place to get yourself an authentic throwback jersey. Whether you're a football fan, basketball fan, or a fan of any of the major sports, they got you covered. Check out that Candlestick collection that's curated with us Bay Area fans in mind. And when you find something that you like, use the promo code Shady Sports, and they'll get you 10% off of your entire order. Again, promo code Shady Sports. Now get you 10% off of your entire order at RoyalRetros.com. Go get yourself an authentic jersey, throwback jersey today. Almost made it through that without a mistake. Excuse me. What else we got? We got t-shirts we're selling, but not just any t-shirts. We are selling t-shirts with proceeds going to Mountain Comprehensive Care Center. Why are these proceeds going there? Well, it's because we were inspired by the allegations brought to Dan Snyder and multiple owners that have all been accused of various things. Not every owner, choose my words very carefully. Many owners, though, have been accused of varying levels of criminal activity or misconduct, and excuse me, and we do not hold them to the same standards as we do with players, i.e. Tyreek Hill, Antonio Brown, the list goes on and on and on. So we decided to create this hashtag, owner standards over player standards, hashtag owner accountability. We've been running with this for 2 years, and we have a store on bonfire.com where we are selling t-shirts with proceeds going to Mountain Comprehensive Care Center, a wonderful women's shelter in Kentucky. The first shirt here is just our basic shirt with the saying owner standards over player standards, hashtag owner accountability. You can get this in a variety of colors, and all the shirts can come in a variety of styles, like a t-shirt, long sleeve, a hoodie, or a crew neck long sleeve shirt. They are built for you, just shirt to shirt. So you can get it any size you'd like. Pricing starting at $22.99. And again, the proceeds going to Mountain Comprehensive Care Center. The next one is our podcast cover art. This is what you see when you listen to us on any podcast platform and at the start of every video on YouTube. Now you can just rock it as a t-shirt. Again, pricing starting at $22.99. This is the alternate logo. It's our red. This is our red version. I think personally this is the best way it looks, but if you want it blue, it's there for some reason. But you got the goalposts and the peanuts on here. This is a very, very nice, very slick alternate logo. And then our last shirt is our mascot of a peanut eating a bowl of peanuts, wearing his Niners hat, patiently waiting for the conference championship and then the Pro Bowl, then the Super Bowl after that. And then he can start worrying about who we're going to get in free agency in the draft. But you can rock this peanut as a t-shirt. Just go to bonfire.com. And again, all the proceeds will go to Mountain Comprehensive Care Center in Kentucky. More information about them are in the show notes as well. All right. All that housekeeping out of the way. I'm so not used to doing that. Excuse me. Apologies for my throat as well. The only bit of news that I have here to close out the show is that the Associated Press NFL honor nominees, I guess they're calling them finalists, but it's basically like part of award season. Now we actually have like formal nominees now. And I don't know. There was not anybody that I was particularly shocked at. They seem pretty straightforward to me though.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Just don't really have the time to go through all of them, but I guess I'll call out one specific. I want to call out one specific one because we did like to talk about this one a lot. The coach of the year. How about this one? The coach of the year. They narrowed it down to Dan Campbell of the Lions, Kevin O'Connell from the Vikings, Sean Payton from the Broncos, Dan Quinn from the Commanders, and Andy Reid from the Chiefs.
Yeah.
The only coach on here that we had previously, the only coach not on here that we had previously talked about was Mike Tomlin.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's, I mean, I don't know. You can't really argue with any of those choices. I mean, I guess in my world, I'd swap out Peyton for Tomlin, but I mean, I can see why you'd put Peyton in there as well. I mean, everybody thought the Broncos were going to be atrocious. And I mean, probably the cupboard was a little more bare in Bronco land than it was in Steelerville. So I guess I would go with him as an option there. But I mean, I would say, 4 out of the 5, they certainly hit right on the head, and you can't really make an argument against any of those guys. I don't know. I mean, when do they actually vote on those?
I don't know when the actual vote is, but they give them on Thursday the 6th. I didn't screen cap on here when they actually vote for them though.
Because I mean, if they wait until after if they're just regular season awards, I mean, I think you might get some different results. But I mean, if you
I think it's just I think it's supposed to be based on just regular season. Maybe I'm not 100% sure though.
But I mean, if Andy Reid gets the Chiefs to the Super Bowl again, how do you not vote for that guy for Coach of the Year? I mean, like,
because he's not Dan Campbell, and Dan Campbell should get it, and I will shout that from the mountaintops. Dan personally would get my vote. I can understand very much Dan Quinn, Kevin, Sean, Andy. I don't disagree that any of these guys were not qualified for this award. Not saying that at all, but I will be petty and say that because he didn't get it last year, I would vote for him this year because Dan definitely should have one. It should have a Coach of the Year trophy in his mantle. And
yeah, I don't know. But his team got to the playoffs and then just took a big turd of a dump. So I mean, like,
yeah.
I mean, so I don't know.
Well,
but
if it was just regular season, because I don't know one way or the other, but if it is just regular season standards we're talking about,
Andy Reid still had a better record and a better team.
He didn't. Well, he got the
he probably had a worse roster.
Yeah, I hear the argument. I'm petty.
Okay. I'll give you Patrick Mahomes better than Jared Goff.
He had
Jamar Gibbs.
He has the best quarterback since Brady. He has the best quarterback since Brady that he can take advantage of it, though.
Right. Jamar Gibbs, Kareem Hunt. Which one are you taking?
Gibbs.
Okay, so better on the Lions side. Amon St. Brown or whoever you have on Kansas City, because it's irrelevant.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, I see where you're going now.
I mean, the team that Dan Campbell has is probably better. I mean, Andy Reid kind of cobbled that team together through the first 8 to 10 weeks of the season. Now, after that, he got them running as a pretty smooth machine. I mean, the Chiefs after week 10 or week 11 really kind of solidified what they were doing and really sort of took off. But I mean, prior to that, Mahomes was throwing to guys that were just coming. I mean, they got Juju Smith-Schuster again for Pete's sakes. I mean, they had to go get DeAndre Hopkins because Rashid Rice blew his knee in half. So I mean, Hopkins has been fine, but he hasn't been a superstar by any stretch of the imagination. So, I mean, it's basically Mahomes, Kelsey, and an outstanding defense that's taken them as far as they have. So it's Brady, Gronk, and an outstanding defense that's taking them all the way again. So I mean, it's the same formula, just remixed in red and yellow instead of Patriot colors.
Yeah, I get it.
You can still have your Dan Campbell Coach of the Year.
When you objectively sure, that's, I can't say that's not a bad argument at all. Him being nominated, no,
he should have definitely been nominated. I'm glad to see that he got nominated.
Yeah, no, because that is objectively really impressive. That the way that they've had to win all their games have been so damn ugly, and they still did it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't and it happens in the NBA all the time. That
narrative-driven awards.
Yeah, that the guy who has the best team doesn't necessarily win Coach of the Year. I mean, there's been so many times that the guy who wins, and does so well doesn't get Coach of the Year for whatever reason. And it's just back in the 90s, Phil Jackson should have been Coach of the Year every single year. There's never, and even in the 2000s when he was doing Shaq and Kobe, should have been Coach of the Year every single year because he had the best team and coached the best players to win the trophy every single year. There's never a time that he shouldn't have been Coach of the Year. So, I mean, if Andy Reid is getting his team, into the playoffs and into the Super Bowl every single year, he should be Coach of the Year. I mean, I think you should reward that sort of excellence. I get the point for taking a team that wasn't necessarily very good like Sean Payton did or Dan Quinn did, and sort of dragging them up and elevating them and making them be good. And in that regard, I would vote for Quinn over Payton personally. But
just those two, I'd vote for Quinn too.
Yeah. But to me, Dan Campbell took a team that was already pretty good and improved a little bit on what they did last year from a record perspective, but fizzled out because they didn't even get as far as they did last year.
Yeah. The injuries, and I mean,
well,
yeah,
but
that's no excuse. I get, then that just makes me more mad that he didn't get it last year because Dan Campbell should have a Coach of the Year award.
Yeah,
Should have been
but I
last
mean,
year.
that narrative sets up. Hopefully, we'll sit here and talk about a lot of hypotheticals as we get through the summer, and we don't have anything else to talk about. But that narrative hopefully sets up a chance for Kyle to have a Coach of the Year award chance next year, because hopefully we rebound from a 6-11 season to something more like 12 or 13 wins next year. And Kyle's right up there for Coach of the Year voting because he took a team that sucked last year and took them up to the heights. But I mean, it's the same team, virtually the same players probably, and but it's the narrative, right? So.
Yeah, I get that. We'll see. That was a very fun. You had one with James last week. You had one with me this time.
I like to argue. I don't know what to tell you.
No, I dig it. I dig it. You didn't let me just have a romance with my fellow Dan. So.
I said you could have a bromance with what you could, Dan Campbell, Dan Quinn, whichever Dan you want. I don't really care. But Andy Reid is the guy that should win. So
I won't be that mad. I can stomach it because what he did was kind of good. So yeah, I think with that, I think that's all we got for you on this week's episode. We'll be back on Tuesday. James should be back with us. But yeah, NFC Championship is at 3 on Fox, and AFC is at 6:30 on NBC, CBS. I don't remember. I think CBS.
It should be on CBS. Yeah.
Yeah, the locals get the conference. That's right. So yeah NFC on Fox first, and then Paramount Plus for me because I don't have cable. But
what network is the Super Bowl on this year? I don't even know. I want to watch Kendrick Lamar. I don't know where he's at.
That's Fox. Fox. Okay. I only remember that because that's been every damn week the entire year. Thank you for watching Fox, the home of the Super Bowl. It's Fox. All right. But yeah, that's all we got for you this week. We'll catch you all on Tuesday reacting to the conference championships. Outro music, River Road by Justin Muth. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Later, y'all. Go Eagles, right?
Go Eagles, go Bills.
Yeah.
River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long. River Road, where have all the women gone? Have they kissed her hand and waved you bye-bye? Have they thought about crossing your double yellow lines? River Road,